You're looking at N2YO. It's a site that's been linked on our website for a long time, and it tracks multiple satellites, but this is KMS-4, or the Korean Military Satellite-4. Launch date was February the 7th, and last year, 2016. The title is Kwangmyeong-sung-4, meaning bright star or lodestar. Keep that in mind. It is an Earth observation satellite launched by North Korea on the 7th of February 2016. The launch happened after North Korea conducted a nuclear test on the 6th of January, and as the United Nations Security Council is deciding on sanctions to be placed on the country following the nuclear test. That's been going on since then. The launch was also timed to celebrate the 74th birthday of the late leader Kim Jong-il on February the 16th. Details on the satellite are not available, though it can be assumed that it is designed and similar to the KMS-3 and 2, which carried an Earth observation camera and 470 megahertz UHF radio payload to transmit patriotic songs. KMS-3 and 2 was reported to be 3-axis stabilized, and its cameras were to be used to collect still image as well as videos. To be downlinked via X-band, the satellite is expected to operate for at least 4 years and fulfill an Earth observation task. Guys, it passes over the United States several times a day. It's a polar orbit, and it means it comes over the poles, over Canada, and then dives over the United States. It goes around our planet about every 94 minutes. Think about that. 45 minutes for half orbit. So you've got about 18 passes per day for this satellite. Again, it gets even deeper than that. Do you know where they got their nuclear material? It's coming out now that Russia accidentally gave them the nuclear material that they have, not only to launch aboard these satellites, but on their nuclear program as far as their missiles. Also, reports are coming out of North Korea, guys, that the mountain has collapsed there in sections where they were digging the underground tunnels. Over 200 people, some say as many as 400 people were killed as they were more or less labored into doing this. And now no trees will grow there since this last collapse. Animals died. The babies are all deformed where he's testing this. But it says after massive intelligence failures grossly underestimated North Korea's long-range missile capabilities, a number of nuclear weapons, warhead miniaturization, and we're talking about satellites there, and proximity to manufacturing a hydrogen bomb. That's what they tested the last time. The biggest North Korean threat to the U.S. remains unacknowledged. North Korea has 2 satellites in orbit and more to follow that could be nuclear armed for a high-altitude electromagnetic pulse, EMP, attack that would black out North America for months to years, killing millions. And why would it kill millions? When you knock out the power, we have only a few farmers that are self-sufficient in this country. Millions are packed house upon house, which the Bible tells us, woe unto those that build house upon house. They're stacked in cities. There's going to be no refrigeration, no grocery stores, no ATMs, no gas. That's why. And then you're going to have more than millions killed after that just because of the chaos. But it doesn't require an accurate guidance system because the area of effect, having a radius of hundreds of miles, is very large, and it doesn't have to re-enter the atmosphere. No re-entry vehicle is needed because the warhead detonates at a high altitude above the atmosphere. The point appears to be beyond the comprehension of most, including secretaries of defense, the military leadership, and the usual experts who appear in the press. Now, guys, that's changed since this article. The Trump administration is in there. But notice at the bottom, 2 Russian generals warned the EMP Commission in 2004 that Russia's super EMP warhead design was transferred accidentally to North Korea. Really? Accidentally. I wonder if any of that uranium came out of the United States and went through Canada. Now the reports are saying they did and have and are transporting this stuff out of our country via Canada, bypassing laws. Something to think about. The former NASA rocket scientist James Oberg visited North Korea's Sohae Space Launch Base witnessed elaborate measures undertaken to conceal space launch payloads and concludes in a 2017 article that the EMP threat from North Korea's satellite should be taken seriously. They have been fears expressed that North Korea might use the satellite to carry a small nuclear warhead into orbit and then detonate it over the U.S. for an EMP strike. These concerns seem extreme and require an astronomical scale of irrationality on the part of the regime. The most frightening aspect is that exactly such a scale of insanity is now evident in the rest of their space program. Now, what they can do with multiple satellites, you can launch a missile into space, not ever let it come back down, and blow it between, say, KMS-4 and KMS-3, and they both go off. But Kim Jong-un has threatened to reduce the United States to ashes through his Thunderbolt program. Now go to our website at BP Earthwatch, scroll down to the bottom, show you how to do this. We have Tiangong-1 is linked right there between Eyes on the Solar System and the CERN link. And you got ISS tracker. But click here on Tiangong-1, and then what you're going to do is come up here and change that. Tiangong-1, that's another video, and it's the Chinese Heavenly Palace that's out of control and is expected to fall to Earth within the next 2 months. Different video. But when you check out this KMS-4, it's coming over the poles now as I'm doing the video, about to go over Greenland, come back down into the Pacific Ocean. Just a couple hours ago, it was passing over Arizona, coming out down through Texas. That's just how this thing works. Every 94 minutes, it orbits our planet, just about 18 times a day. Notice to the right, your speed in miles is 4.73 miles a second, and your altitude is 309.74 miles. That goes up and down all day. You'll see it get to a bottom, and then it rise back up. Because it's not a round orbit around our planet, it's an elliptical. So when it goes into the outer edges of the elliptical orbit, you see the altitude rise. But now, if you can go and look at where it will be this afternoon, and you can see it dropping right across the Great Lakes, coming out down through Florida. And again, you've got 18 passes a day, and there's not a day that goes by, guys, that it does not cross the United States several times. And you've got Russia admitting that they've let this material get to them back as early as 2004. And look how far they've come now. And then in 2017, you got the scientists saying they have the capabilities. So I'm very sure that our military knows way more than what I'm just basically pointing out on things you can find on the website. And I know that they're watching it very closely. And we have space weapons too. Let's put it that way. For the very same thing they're doing, or to take something out like that. And so we just hope that everyone's aware, and I'm sure our military's all over this with the threat with North Korea. And they can't talk about it, and I don't blame them. And if I knew anything more than I could tell you, I wouldn't tell you. We're an Air Force family. But guys, keep an eye on this.
Attacked by what will be described as Yemeni nationals in the United States. Make no mistake, but these are, and I'm just going to go ahead and put the agency out here. These are CIA operatives. These are CIA proxies who are rogue at this point because their entire infrastructure has been dissolved by the Trump administration. Okay, when you launch an ICBM from Yemen, there is absolutely not a reality in the world where they have the capability of doing that. Okay, so for this thing firing into Riyadh being shut down, they are incredibly desperate. And I'm just going to say it right now. During this week, there is an attempt by Yemeni nationals in the United States to pull off a false flag.
Zach in Florida, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, Alex, it's great to be back on, and I just have to really update some key information to connect some dots regarding.
Yeah, because you were gonna come on as a guest, but then you got in some trouble.
Yeah,
and I didn't even notice that was the regular Zach from Florida. I'm sorry I made you hold an hour, but I'm just all over the map today. Because you talked about the Saudi Arabia shakeup that was about to happen, how they were involved with the Vegas attack. Just to recap for folks, you've been a great source of info. So go ahead.
Yeah, and I got back and forth to Nico. I just haven't heard anything back, but I'm sure you guys are busy there building your operation. So let's get into the Saudi Arabia thing, which is very important. This shakeup that comes right after the Vegas intel that dropped, which is important, and this is deep and this is major. So let's get right into it. Yemen. This is the next play. It's going to be Yemen. What we have in February, if people have such a short memory, but I've compiled the timeline here, so I don't miss this stuff. In February, we have to remember the Navy SEAL raid in Yemen that Trump ordered that killed a couple Navy SEALs, came back, and Trump quotes, "We have gathered very vital intel." Immediately following that, you have John McCain completely discrediting Trump, coming out and saying that this raid in Yemen was not appropriate. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's out of control. And why do you think that was? The information that was gathered in Yemen uncovered them all physically. So they physically gathered that intel. Okay?
Sure, that was who was controlling the ISIS Al-Qaeda operatives out of Saudi Arabia. And
it's no coincidence that a few months after that, you have John McCain, miraculously having, a brain cancer surgery out of nowhere, because make no mistake, he will be questioned in the future. And they're going through some other motions right now, but this is very convenient when it's going to come to him being questioned and his lack of memory. Therefore,
sure, because he went and funded the radical jihadis himself. He quarterbacked the whole deal. He's been up to it, in his eyeballs. And now you're right. They go get the intel out of Yemen. Now this is happening in Saudi Arabia. They're rolling up the whole globalist network with the Bushes, you name it. Now, he's been calling a couple of years, but he's been calling almost every week the last 6 months or so. And Zach just has great sources. I don't know his whole background there from former Special Forces Command in Florida. I think that's where he mentioned some of his info was from before. I just know from all my big sources, and I've got a lot of sources right up to the president, I'll just leave it at that, who we still occasionally get info directly from. I mean, that's not a secret. In fact, General Kelly's blockade of info is suddenly lifted. It's crazy. And he's gotten on board it now is the information we've gotten. He was going to join us last week for an hour, and then I guess he got called in and got in some trouble. Even though he's never given us anything classified, he just pointed out what's happening. And he said last week, big shakeup in Saudi Arabia, criminal networks there working with ISIS and Al-Qaeda, connected in to what happened in Vegas. And I was given that information from sources in Vegas, but also in the federal government. But they said, please don't talk about that yet. But then he called in and talked about it. So he's got some sources. I don't know what he wants to say about himself. He's going to join us by Skype tomorrow. And I sure hope it ends up happening. But just recap Vegas, what you predicted last week, the civil war inside Wahhabist Islam, and what the next big shoot-a-drop is. I mean, they're killing a bunch of these princes. There's a civil war over there. They're blowing up their helicopters. And we knew this tied back to trying to find out who's actually behind ISIS. We now know it's the Clintons, it's Obama, it's Hillary, it's the Arab Spring, it's the Muslim Brotherhood. And now this is the proof from Yemen in that raid that got the globalists so upset when it happened. So walk us through it.
Okay, so we have the call on October 31st, me and yourself, and they're talking about the Saudi connections in Vegas. Obviously, during that weekend, you have the incredible shakeup in Saudi Arabia, and it's not coincidental because that was pretty important stuff, and that's kind of stuff you don't bring up. But because here's the thing with those PMCs. When you have this prince who was arrested, he's at the big center of this because Prince Al-Walid, the billionaire who was
he's the one always running down Trump, quarterbacking a bunch of the leftist stuff here.
He's publicly funded several PMCs, and this is what they do with the private military companies. They run as a certain name in a certain organization. Then, like Blackwater and some of the other ones, they continue to change names.
And they've been ballsy enough to be in big firefights in Saudi Arabia the last 4 days. That's not really in our news, but some of it's leaked. I mean, there's actual civil war going on.
So this happens. We leaked the information on the 31st, and obviously we see what happens there on the weekend leading into the new week. So this happens, but what we have to realize is, and this is the prediction, and this is the next big news, which will occur this week, unless we stop it here. There's going to be an attack by what will be described as Yemeni nationals in the United States. Make no mistake, but these are. And I'm just going to go ahead and put the agency out here. These are CIA operatives. These are CIA proxies who are rogue at this point because their entire infrastructure has been dissolved by the Trump administration. Okay, when you launch an ICBM from Yemen, there is absolutely not a reality in the world where they have the capability of doing that. Okay, so for this thing firing into Riyadh being shut down, they are incredibly desperate. and I'm just going to say it right now, during this week there is an attempt by Yemeni nationals in the United States to pull off a false flag. And because they're desperate, but here's the thing, the money source is captured at a evacuated Ritz-Carlton in Saudi Arabia. Those individuals, they flushed the Ritz-Carlton in Saudi Arabia, and they're being held there.
So just as you said weeks before this came out, they pushed their bluff with Trump of a destabilization campaign, and he just basically called their bluff and rolled them up.
You have, and John McCain is just so done. John McCain plays a big part in this, okay? He plays a major part in this. He's timestamped on February 2nd making his comments about the Navy SEALs, making the raid in Yemen and how displeased he was by it.
Well, he's photographed with the leaders of ISIS before they created the group. I mean, he's red-handed.
Who are in Yemen as we speak and are freaking out because the spouts of money has dried up. They got Al-Walid in Riyadh right now, flushed out.
And let's boil it down, because this is all confirmed. Just like Trump said Hillary and Obama founded ISIS, Trump is rolling up the double networks that even Saudi Arabia didn't like because they were used to menace and control Saudi Arabia. He's going to clean, open, real pragmatic politics. He's told the king this. The king, once he was shown the evidence of the data files, got on board. Now they're getting in line, and Iran better get in line because this is all unfolding. But you're right. They've got stay-behind terror networks in the deep state that's refused to go and is going to now launch attacks and try to blame the Second Amendment. You can just see it unfolding. So continue.
So basically, callers and some individuals are speculating there will be a war with Iran. No, this is the war with Iran. There is no legitimate war with Iran. There is no kinetic war with Iran without their deep state backing, and that is gone thanks to Donald Trump. He has shifted his real military. Focus, I guess you could call it, into the South Pacific, in Korea, as we talked about, me and yourself 6 months ago, bringing up strategic patience. In Trump's speech in Korea, where he takes his business coat off and puts on the bomber jacket, is the most symbolic thing ever. Then reads specifically from a sheet of paper. He's a great speaker and orator. But he speaks and specifically mentions the term strategic patience, which has not been uttered diplomatically like he has said in the last 25 years. And that's for good reason, because these are deep state intelligence-backed proxies. There is no kinetic war with Iran. We're in it right now. We've leaked them. We've double-crossed them. Trump is playing, I don't even know if you call it 5D chess. He's so far ahead. It's so brilliant. And this line that he's an idiot, they are highly mistaken.
Well, I know what Trump did. He went the day after he got elected, once he was sworn in, he went to the CIA. He gave them all big plaques, American flag plaques on wood. I'm only saying that people know that I actually talked to folks that were obviously in on the meeting. And it wasn't a classified meeting. And the point is, but it never leaked. And he said, whoever's for America and wants to be straight shooters, I'm going to back you 100%. Whoever isn't, get ready. I'm coming after you. And he said, we're not playing games and double-crossing people anymore. He said, this whole global system of double-crossing and funding terror is over. Then he got with the people that understood the full operation and green-lighted them rolling up these networks of the Muslim Brotherhood that we know is been funded by multi-actors in the Middle East, not just Iran. And so what we're seeing is a major stabilization operation by the president. But I agree with you. They're going to try to launch some attacks. But what did they think was going to happen when they pulled off the Vegas operation? I mean, did they think Trump was just going to crap his pants and say, okay, we'll please don't stage a bunch of terror attacks. I'll back off now.
I don't know what they really thought Trump, and I don't think people have underestimated him, obviously. But that was symbolic, and that was blackmailing to other people within the actual infrastructure of our government. There's certain words, keywords, and certain signifiers within the attack, even within the attack in Texas, which you could get into, that are essentially symbols to people within that infrastructure, essentially a hand being played in a game of poker. So,
and they're also having the drills right now of the U.S. power being knocked out, which is really the cover, and the enemy knows this, to put teams in place guarding strategic power stations. This country's on a full war footing right now with the globalists and their Islamic proxy armies. But we know they've also got other proxy groups. Any information on who else we should be watching out for?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, there's no difference. Antifa is a creation of the deep state. If you would look into the creation and the actual, standing up of what we call Al-Qaeda or today ISIS, there's no difference in Antifa. So you have at the helm, at the actual helm, the funding helm of these groups, you have deep state individuals who are carrying this out. And I'm just going to tell you right now, with this Texas shooting, I'm not going to speculate too much, but I shouldn't get into that. Actually, let me just stop right there. But you're going to see more attacks like the Texas shooting that will have that may be double barbed. And what double barbed means is they have a specific point and they have specific blackmail characteristic to people within the government. But they also, the double barb, the second barb of it is to carry out political agendas like gun control and
sure. And it shows their sick mind. They think they attack a country music deal, they attack a church, they attack Texas, just like Hitler bombed London. That only made the Brits get behind the war. I don't know why they think all this intimidation is going to make us give our guns up or make us bow. They're really stupid.
This week you will see an attempt, and hopefully it's foiled, I hope, but they're brazen and they're obviously been doing things. There will be an attempted attack on the United States of America, a massive attack by an individual group of individuals that have Yemen nationality.
And that's why they keep saying Trump will be gone by December. They're planning to get things so bad, we go, it's Trump's fault, get rid of him. I don't understand how they think this is going to work.
Yeah, and Trump is doubling down. He hasn't been intimidated. If anything, it's fired him up. The symbolism of him taking off the business jacket, putting on the bomber jacket, and uttering the word strategic patience in the South Pacific is a real message to China, and that's why he's going to meet with Putin.
Well, listen,
later.
Paul Watson's coming up, and I've got a few clips I got to play before that happens of stuff I promised to air, but you should come on, because I know you got good information today, if you can, with Owen sometime and tomorrow. We should just get this happening now. So thank you so much, Zach. Let me put you on hold. I want to get you on with Owen, if you can do it, or David Knight tomorrow, as much as possible. I want you to flesh this out for folks, because you're dead on. We've got to be bracing for the new attacks.